Welcome back, YouTube. It's been a while. Renaissance is back with your boy Greg. And yeah, I want to address some things about boxing, some specific things. Yep, Jay's not in this video, but we're still going to do our regular videos together. But I wanted to address something specific, something dear to my heart about boxing. We're a fickle fan base. We're not like football or basketball or soccer. Um, or any of the big major sports where we have a fan base based on our location. We have a team so close to us, and our dads have watched it that it's just a part of a rite of passage. You watch this team and you support this team. Well, boxing is not the same. We have fighters that aren't in our cities, and if they are in our cities, they aren't that big, so we don't get to see them on TV. We don't get to follow them, and they're not as media prepped as the other athletes in the other sports. So we jump on bandwagons. We see something we like, and we jump on. We see something we don't like, and we jump right off. And I don't think that's fair to those athletes and supporting them. I mean, on a shallow extent. I mean, they're still making decent money when they get to the top. But there's a specific fighter I want to talk about. Not an up and coming fighter on the rise, and not someone on the top just running things. I want to talk about one-time Keith Thurman, or some of you guys call him now sometime Keith Thurman. Why should my opinion matter, you say? Well, I mean, give you some background. Me and my boy Jay have been like heavy in boxing since about 2005. Now, we've watched boxing as kids, with our dads, and we're excited about the Roy Jones Juniors, the Muhammad Ali's, the Sugar Ray Leonards, the Marvin Haglers, Tommy Hearns, Oscar De La Hoyas, but we didn't know much about what we were watching. But in college, you're arguing with a lot of men. There's a lot of testosterone going around, and if you're not going to fight it out, you better have a good argument if you want, to lead in that conversation, or you want any credibility and want anyone to hear you. So we start studying the sport, and we start getting more interested in it. And as men, of course, you want to be able to defend yourself. So we start really looking at the techniques, practicing them, going into gyms, sparring people, getting mitt work from trainers, asking questions from trainers, talking to current fighters, watching interviews of great fighters, watching interviews and tutorials from great trainers. And we've just been going on and on and on and on. And we feel like we have a good, understanding of boxing at this point. Speaking of which, Keith Thurman. We've watched a lot of Keith Thurman. One thing I can say about him is he's really knowledgeable about the sport. But if you go back to when he started in about 2007, I think he went pro, he was unpolished, but he was knocking out everything breathing. I'm telling you, the dude, I think he's about 5'7", 5'8". He has somewhat of the complexion for the connection. Long-haired kid, and I mean, he's versatile. He's moving all over the place, and he's throwing haymakers. You don't see a lot of welterweights throw haymakers. You got a range as far as skill and volume of punches when it comes to weight. You got the heavyweights who are more than likely going to try to be, more precise, because only takes one punch to knock you out. So they're going to try to be sound on defense. They're going to be able to hurt you with just about any punch they throw, and they're not going to throw as many punches. Whereas if you go, lightweight, bantamweight, those small weight classes, they're going to throw a lot of punches. There's going to be a lot of skill involved, but the volume is probably going to overlap that when you're watching it, and you're just going to be watching for second by second by second action, just wars. Heavyweights, if you see a war, there may be a lot of brain damage, or the guy's career won't last long. A lot of collision, huge collision. So compare that to career of a running back. And then you have the little guys. They're like receivers. They're going to do a lot of different things on the field, and you may not see it all. You may see the thing you like the most about them. Welterweights is sort of in the middle. You're going to get a combination of skill, volume, and power, but what you rarely see are people throwing haymakers, and that was what Keith Thurman was doing. So we're watching Mayweather, we're watching Pacquiao, we're watching our Cottos, and behind the scenes on some undercards and some small arenas, you got, again, this light-skinned kid who talks trash before and after fights, not scared of the camera, knocking out everybody. So we're watching him closely. And he's moving up. He's fighting no names initially. But around he had 18 fights, maybe 18 knockouts, maybe 17 knockouts, and he finally gets somewhat of a test. He fights a southpaw, and I don't even think it's at 147 welterweight. I think it's like at a catchweight, 150 or something of the nature. He fights a southpaw from Puerto Rico in Carlos Quintana. Now, Carlos Quintana, he had some losses, but again, you got a guy coming up. You have to groom these guys. You can't just throw them in with the big dogs just because they have skill and they have some experience. You have to groom them. You have to get them into fights where they're fighting different styles, but may not have the full package. So he's fighting Carlos Quintana, and what does he do on his first like intermediate stage, medium stage? He knocks him out. So we're like, okay. And then he talks a lot of trash after the fight. We're like, okay, this guy's ready. We want to see him somewhere. We want to compare him. Now, when you want to market a fighter, if you want to bring them up and you want them to get some attention, there's several different ways you can do it. Some promoters and networks will work together and put them on undercards of fights, fights where the lead of the fight resembles somewhat of their style. Or they'll put them on the undercard of a fighter within their weight class so the fans can do what? Start arguing. My guy, my top welterweight Mayweather or Bronner or Paulie Malignaggi, they can't beat. I mean, they'll wash your Keith Thurman. Oh, I've been watching Keith Thurman, man. He'll knock him out. Go back and forth. What drives money in boxing? Demand. What starts demand? Fans arguing, and then it gets into the people over top. We're talking about the commentators. We're talking about the analysts. We're talking about people with the networks, getting the producers' ears. We're like, look, we can make some money. The fans want to see this. We're not even talking about pay-per-view yet. We're talking about getting in an arena where, one night you were fighting 5,000 people in the crowd. We get in this arena, it can sit 20,000. Can you fit 20,000 people in this crowd? So again, one thing is to get them in there and, get them in the same TV time or space or around the same weeks or months as another fighter you want fans to compare them to. Another way is to get them in the ring with fighters that already have huge fan bases. Now, outside of America, and we're huge on our sports, and it's sort of like an encapsulated, dome around us. We don't realize what's going on in the rest of the world sometimes. But in the rest of the world, when they're talking about sports, it's damn near the Olympics. There's a lot of tribalism. There's a lot of nationalism going on. And who are some huge athletes in the sports of boxing? Latinos. I'm talking about people from Argentina. I'm talking about Mexicans. I'm talking about Puerto Ricans. I'm talking about Cubans. When their fighters fight, similar to when we watch our favorite NBA team from our city or our state, they go hard and they back them all the way. You fight a guy from Mexico who's big, all of Mexico's watching, or a huge percentage of Mexico's watching. You fight a Puerto Rican around Puerto Rican parade? Oh, yes. They are watching. You put it on pay-per-view, they are buying the pay-per-view. What better way to celebrate your holiday by having your hero win something big the night before or around that? That's a celebration. That's a reason to go out and buy some drinks. That's a reason to go out and buy some tickets and go to a different state and go to an arena. So we're looking at two ways now. Get him compared to another fighter or put him up against a fighter that has some national backing, some huge backing. That's not always going to be the case with your American fighters, especially African-American fighters. We have a lot of African-American athletes to look up to, let alone a boxer. We have so many sports. We can look at our favorite football player. We can look at our favorite basketball player. We can look at NASCAR drivers. Now we can look at, our favorite golfer that's African-American. There's so many, tributaries or ways to go and support, the community that we may not pay that close attention to a sport that's so individualized and has so many, heads and so many titles to win. Who knows who the real champion is? So they're building Keith Thurman, And it's that time. He beat Carlos Quintana. We need to market him. How? What's going on? Well, he's chasing Mayweather. He's chasing some other guys. Maybe we can get him in a fight with Mayweather. But again, we got to build him up. Mayweather is here. And we can't have Mayweather fighting some no names or someone not worth fighting. We got to build him up to close to the level. Mayweather's getting millions of pay-per-view buys. He's breaking records. And we got guys that have never been on pay-per-view. Nah, not going to work. So what are we going to do? First, let's try the nationality approach. Fight some Latino, a brawler, a guy that can take it and give it. Enter Jesus Soto Karass. So after, he's ran a gamut and knocked out all these guys, we finally get him in there on an undercard, another combination. Undercard of another Latino fighter and Marcos Maidana, a knockout machine from Argentina, facing a Mayweather clone. Oh, perfect. How did these things even come together? Fighting a clone, and that's Adrian Bronner, by the way. Adrian Bronner fighting Marcos Maidana for a welterweight championship as the header of the card. And undercard is Keith Thurman coming up, knocking out everything. One-time Thurman fighting Jesus Soto Karass. It's on. What does Keith Thurman do? First round, he gets hurt. He goes through some adversity, and he cleans Jesus Soto Karass. Cleans him. So now you're thinking, the combinations. He just knocked out this Latino fighter. Another good thing about fighting someone with a lot of fans is that those fans could become your fans. He knocks out Jesus Soto Karass, and I'm sure some Latinos saying, I'm messing with that guy. So we already rose his level a little bit. This guy's from one country. Now he can either fight the Mayweather clone, who's super marketable, who talks a lot of trash, is slick, African-American, resembles Mayweather's style. So if you beat him, we get that comparison to him fighting Mayweather. Oh, he beat this guy. He can do all these things to Mayweather. He can get past the defense. That's what we're thinking if that happens. Or you fight Marcos Maidana after already fighting another Latino. You take one country, you add another country to it. You add the fact that you can talk trash. I mean, we're just building. What happens in the Adrian Bronner Maidana fight? It's a war. So, I mean, whoever he fights, his marketability after that fight is going to skyrocket. Maidana beats Bronner. But that fight is so good that it catches Mayweather's attention. It catches my man's attention. I'm sorry, Keith Thurman. That's my boy, but he took your food. He said, I'll fight you, Maidana. You beat my little brother. I mean, they had to make, some storyline. You beat my little brother, I'll take you. They take it off the plate. They take it off of Keith Thurman's plate. And Keith Thurman after that, he was one-time Thurman before that. He was calling out Malignaggi. He was calling out every fighter on the top at that point. Now he's chasing the ever-elusive Mayweather, who's elusive outside the ring and inside the ring. He's chasing him, so now he has to change up his talk. Like, how do I get the marketability now, the attention now, the money now, the cachet now, to get a fight, earn a fight with Floyd Mayweather? How can I get that? Well, Mayweather said one thing around this time. A lot of fighters were trying to fight him. Amir Khan, Keith Thurman, Sean Porter, you name it. Tim Bradley. There was a lot of fighters trying to fight him. How do I get in front of him? Mayweather said one time, a lot of guys didn't pay attention to this. Stop trying to take my legacy on my way out and make your own legacy. Fight the guys on your level. Beat them. That's what I did. And then you'll get the attention to get in front of me, earn the big bucks, and I'm going to sign a contract. We're both going to get more money than we had before. All right. Keith Thurman takes that approach. So after he beats Jesus Soto Karass, he goes on a list or tear of fighters at a higher level. So again, you want to be more marketable, but you've already achieved some marketability or some attention. So the network is looking at you like, we can get some money off of you, but we need to return. We can give you some money, but we need to return in our investment. We need you to up the ante in competition. So he does. And one time Thurman went into sometime Thurman into, no time Thurman. He didn't get any more knockouts. He knocked a lot of these fighters down, but he didn't get any knockouts. He went from Julio Diaz to Luis Collazo to Robert Guerrero, and he's running things now. In this stretch, Mayweather gets promoted or he gets risen to the WBA super welterweight or the super WBA title holder at welterweight, whatever that means. Keith Thurman had the interim title. So what do? They just give him the WBA title. Keith Thurman is a breadwinner. He's a gatekeeper for a belt. What happens when you get a belt? They all start coming to you. So things are coming together for our boy Keith Thurman. So again, everyone that was on the bandwagon should still be on the bandwagon, and they were. I mean, I'm even hearing from guys that I respect as far as, talking trash about sports or anything logical, telling me that Keith Thurman can beat Pacquiao and Mayweather. I'm scratching my head, but at least he's going the right route. He's building his own legacy. So, who wants to fight him? Danny Garcia, Sean Porter, don't know so much about Kell Brook, and there's another guy sneaking up. EJ, Errol Spence. But who's first on the list? We got to get some storylines. We got to go the same route. So again, we talked about this with Mayweather. In order to get in front of the head honcho, you got to bring something to the party. So we got to have either storylines or all those combinations we were talking about. What are you bringing to the table? All right. Sometimes you go back and forth and you say things that will stir up things in the media just to get more attention. Enter Sean Porter. So him and Sean Porter and Keith Thurman actually either sparred or trained together. They fought amateurs. So they have some history. And Kenny Porter, a.k.a. P. Diddy, always in the videos, talking a lot of trash. So they had a fight coming up around, June 25th? Not the June 25th. They had a fight scheduled for March of 2016. We got a guy that's knocking out everybody, trying to get the Mayweather-Pacquiao fights, about to build his own legacy so he can get the Pacquiao-Mayweather fights. He says he gets in a car crash and has to postpone the fight. The boxing world is like, what? One time Keith Thurman gets injured, okay, we believe him. Where are the pictures? Where the video? No pictures, no video. No pictures, no video. You're finally fighting a real fighter. Is he ducking? That's what started coming out. Is he ducking? Now, I'll be honest. Did I think something similar to that? Yes, and partially because of the media. YouTubers, P. Diddy, Kenny Porter, discrediting the injury or the accident, saying I didn't see anything. I called the car that was wrecked that he said I called different impounds and I couldn't find the car. He's saying what he wants to say, and we're taking his word for it. But in any case, why all of a sudden a guy that's knocking out everything, calling everybody out, why would we think that this guy is ducking somebody? Scared of somebody? The fight was not called off, it was postponed. Well, long story short, they end up fighting in June of that year, and it's an all-out war. All-out war, with Keith Thurman being quicker, sharper, better counterpuncher, but sometimes getting overwhelmed by the sheer volume that Sean Porter is throwing and the bullying tactics. But nonetheless, it was a great fight. We saw again this guy go through some controversy or some trials. He got hit with a body shot that buckled him. He was trapped up against the ropes, getting bullied and hit with bombs, and was still coming back. And to me, hurt Sean Porter. It was a close fight, but I had Keith Thurman winning. So Keith Thurman validates his title, his WBA title at this point. We are still on the bandwagon. He's not one time anymore, but he was throwing the same bombs. And again, one thing I'll point out, I haven't seen a lot of fighters throw punches with this much velocity on them in the welterweight division in some time. Maybe like a Shane Mosley. I mean, these are Shane Mosley intentioned punches. I'm saying bombs, and not a big welterweight Shane Mosley, but he did stop Margarito, who walked through Cotto, who walked through Clottey, who walked through Paul Williams, who was not knocked out later by Pacquiao. This guy walks through buses and trains and buildings falling. And Shane Mosley knocked that guy out. And then if I'm saying somebody's velocity, another fighter's velocity is similar to Shane Mosley, who knocked Margarito out, I'm saying this guy can punch. And maybe we just got some guys in the welterweight division that have some better chins. Okay? So we got sometime Thurman now. We're on the bandwagon. And another big fight comes up. But there's some hesitation. There's some talking of trash. I say Keith Thurman is going to beat this guy. This is Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia was the unified welterweight champion of the world who had serious power, hadn't fought the biggest names in their prime, I'll say, except Lucas Matisse. But there were some questions about that fight. Number one, because Lucas Matisse had already lost. And two, Lucas Matisse didn't really fight anybody. So we got two guys that didn't really fight anybody, but we had crowned them the cream of the crop of light welterweight, 140. So they fought, and he showed some boxing ability, this Danny Garcia, and he still showed his power. He moves up to welterweight. He beats Paulie Malignaggi. Who can't beat Paulie Malignaggi, by the way? He beats him, and I think he either takes his belt or he gets a belt in the process. So he has a belt. So we have Keith Thurman with a title fighting Danny Garcia, who does not have a loss at this point. Nope, does not have a loss at this point. Fighting for a unified welterweight championship. When is the last time unified? I guess you can say, well, there were some unified. I remember Floyd fighting Pacquiao. They both had titles. I remember Floyd fighting Mosley. They both had titles. I remember Floyd fighting Judah. They both had titles. So there were several fights where there were two fighters fighting who had titles, but were they undefeated? Maybe the last time was Floyd undefeated when he fought Ricky Hatton and they both had titles? Perhaps. The biggest one that I could think of in their primes was Oscar De La Hoya versus Felix Trinidad. I was not that as excited for this fight, of course. But, I mean, you got a Puerto Rican against American. They're both marketable. Danny Garcia just has the look, and he has power, and he's from Philly. So you're bringing those again. And then Puerto Rico, we're bringing a fan base. We're bringing a nation, right? Had that fight. Keith Thurman comes out throwing bombs. But he has to start moving, which became sort of a trend in his last couple of fights. So I can start to see why some people let up. One reason people jump on a bandwagon of a fighter is because they think they can ride with them all the way to the top. And if there's any weakness or weak link in your makeup that would suggest that you couldn't be that guy, they start to move. And I can see why people would start to move. So you got a fighter here who's starting to box, who has power, but doesn't have the power that, I don't know, Trinidad had back in this day. And then who boxes, but doesn't have Mayweather boxing skills. So you have a guy in the middle struggling against some guys we think Mayweather would clean easily. People start to lose interest. You're going to be in the middle of the pack. You'll never be that guy. So let's go and find that other guy, who so happens to be Errol Spence. Errol Spence coming up in the ranks, and now he's calling out Keith Thurman. So Keith Thurman is the unified welterweight champion. Here's another sidetrack or obstacle. He gets injured again, and he won't tell us really what the injury is. You got injured again, you get married, and you got who we perceive now to be the best welterweight in the world coming after you, Errol Spence, the Truth Spence, who is a southpaw and walks through things. He's like the Black Margarito as far as his chin and durability is concerned. But then, get this, he's been sparring with Mayweather. And we've been hearing rumblings that he's been actually getting the best of Mayweather. So now we got a guy who can get with the slickest fighter in the game, who's been praised by the best fighter in the game. Mayweather admitted that he had some problems with this kid and actually wanted to sign him. He's taller than Mayweather. He hits harder, it seems like, than a lot of welterweights, has not shown any durability weaknesses, but yeah, gets hit a little bit. He went and fought a guy that dominated, didn't have a back and forth fight with Sean Porter like Keith Thurman did. He went and dominated a guy in Kell Brook in England to get his title and start calling on Keith Thurman. We've seen Keith Thurman get hit. We've seen him move. And one thing you don't want to do against Errol Spence is be the hunted. So we're thinking in our head, it's over. They're jumping all the way off. This guy's injured. A guy's calling him out. He's not talking trash back and forth with this guy. He's making up excuses now. It's like, I'll fight you when you get big. But let's rewind. During this diatribe I'm giving you, we've already talked about the fact that you have to bring something to the party. Your name has to get out there. Just because you win one title or just because you can hit hard or you're exciting doesn't mean it's up to the level it needs to be for us to give both these fighters the money they deserve and for the TV networks and the promoters to get their money back. On top of that, the guy is injured. Let's talk about injuries and the biggest problem I have with the fans. Come on. Let's make a scenario here. You are a running back. You're running back in the NFL. We've been following running backs. We've been following the Zeke Elliott's, plays for the Cowboys. We've been following the Adrian Peterson, who just got released from the Redskins or whatever their new name is, the Washington team. They say running backs have the shortest careers in football, and they get the lowest signing bonuses because what? Because we're betting off what you can give me in the future, not what you've done for me already. Think of this like a business. You guys all work for businesses. They base what they do off money they project to bring in. I've already paid you. So I work for a company. What do? They're looking at money we bring in, and they're looking at how to make more money. We have employees at this job. Let's say we have 30, and we make enough to pay 30 right now. People want to get hired. They say it's a good company. How can I pay more employees if I always make just enough to pay the 30 employees? I need to make more money. How can I guarantee that when I hire this person, I'm not going to start losing money? I have to look at projections. I have to base it on some increase that's happening. How can I predict an increase? By looking at trends that happened in the past when things increased. Can I force a trend to happen? Can I control it? Yeah, if I use tactics that I used before to get that trend to happen. Boxing. If I want more money, I want a fighter to be worth more money. If I want a fighter to be worth more money, that means I need more people to watch them on TV. I need more people to be in the stadium, like we talked about. And if I do pay-per-view, I need a lot of people to buy the pay-per-view. Otherwise, I can't guarantee that I'm not going to lose money. So we go back to the running back. The running back, is he going to be able to get me more money? He has to win. How long is a a running back going to be effective at helping me win as long as his body can last? How long do they typically last? Trend, maybe 3 to 4 years. So let's make his first contract about 3 to 4 years. And then look at him at the 4th year and say, where is he trending? Up or down? Up. Pay him more money. Down. As usual for the trend. Pay him less money. You see? So Keith Thurman is a boxer. And he wants the biggest payday. He's done all the work doing what Mayweather said, making his own legacy. Mayweather and Pacquiao are still in the vicinity. And now he has an injury. And one of the biggest fighters, well, the best fighters, not biggest, is calling him out. Now he's proved himself. He's unified welterweight champion. Got an injury. What do I do? Do I fight this guy with an injury and possibly have a close decision, not look as good, do something that doesn't look as good to win in hopes of getting the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight? Is that possible? Mayweather-Pacquiao, when they're fighting someone, they have to bring something to the table. If that guy that I'm bringing to the table, marketability goes down, he's not getting that fight. And if he doesn't get that fight, how much money are we talking? When Mayweather fought Carlos Baldomir, I think he was earning about $2 to $5 million, maybe even less than that, a fight. When he fought Oscar De La Hoya, when he increased his marketability up over time, Oscar De La Hoya got 20 to 50 million, and Floyd got 10 to 20 million. That's what I'm talking about. Floyd, by the time Keith Thurman was interested in him, was getting 30 to 50 million on a regular basis. Regular basis. Do you know how much money Keith Thurman was getting? About 1 to 2 million a fight. So you're saying the potential of me possibly getting $50 million a fight, $20 million a fight, $10 million a fight, and that happening at least twice a year, getting $20 million is dependent on my performance in this next fight, and I'm getting 1 or 2 million now. So my maximum I'm getting a year now is 4 million, and that the difference between that and 20 million is 16 freak. I'm gonna sacrifice that? There's nothing to do with being scared of anybody. Are you telling me that you're gonna go to a casino and they said on this day, your girl wants some money today. I want some money today, baby. I want to eat, at a fancy restaurant today. And I'm gonna send you to the casino with some money. I need you to go win it. And someone told you had a big tip or the dealer that you knew you could get over on wasn't gonna be into the next day. You've been getting him for a while, but you just didn't have the money. And your woman gives you like $500 to go spend. Are you gonna go to the casino the day that dealer's not there? Are you gonna say, honey, wait one more day? One more day. She'll be mad, but she'll deal with it. She'll be all right. That's what you'll say. You're gonna make the right move. You're gonna make an educated decision. In any sport, I want to see the best fight the best at their best. Period, point blank, bottom line. If I'm betting on a fighter, I don't want 20 years to go down the line. I'm sitting down with my boy, and they give me some Sugar Ray Leonard, Aaron Pryor story. I don't want to hear none of that. I want them to fight, but I want them to fight the best. I don't want a no mas. You want a no mas? You want a Roberto Duran, Sugar Ray Leonard 2? Roberto Duran quit because he accepted the fight too fast? Did you see the first fight? Did you see the Roberto Duran? That was an insane fighter, ladies and gentlemen. This has happened a billion times. Mayweather couldn't do the same things, and he didn't accept fights at the same times he would normally accept fights because he had injured his hands. Do you remember Mayweather Gotti? Do you remember Mayweather Corrales? Do you remember Mayweather Judah? Do you remember Mayweather Hatton? You think Hatton was better than Judah? Do you remember Mayweather Maidana? You think he was better than Shane Mosley or Oscar De La Hoya? No. He got older, his body changed. You don't do the same things, you make different decisions. You can't hold them all to the same standard. Treat them like a normal human. Another scenario. I have I have these cousins, right? They both play basketball. I have one cousin I was playing basketball with who used to play for his high school team. I can tell you he was nice, but I saw, some things were missing. I'm like, what's going on? I got injured some years back. And, I'm just trying to get back to where I need to be. But he's nice enough to get some dubs. Then he has another cousin who didn't play basketball, in high school, but play other sports and is quite athletic. Now, we're a little older now, guys. For some of you to play basketball, the last thing you want to do is go out there on a day that you're not in shape and play somebody you're better than who's in way better shape than you and lose to that person. Come on. And then for that person to brag about it, what are you going to do? Argue him to death? No, you're going to try to get him back in shape and get yours back. But if you never have that chance, and everybody is saying you lost to that guy, you're trash, and you never have the chance to get it back. Now, what if there was some money on the line in that game? And they said, let's play tomorrow for the money on the line. What if you had a chance to postpone that? What if they said you would fight for $10,000 tomorrow? And if you win, you get a chance to play for $1 million. The right thing to say, give me a week. Because I don't want to lose this and lose out on that chance to earn that bigger money. I'm going to make an educated decision. Keith Thurman is injured. Has a guy coming up that does not have a big name yet asking to fight him. Go through the protocol. Didn't you read the script? Didn't you read the manual? The instruction manual on how to do this? Go beat some of them guys I beat. Go up the hard route. I'm on my way to fighting Mayweather, Pacquiao. Can you give me a day? And then he's injured. So now I'm compromised. I do want to fight you, but now if I can't have an excuse and lose all this potential and all this money that I've been fighting all my life to get. When these guys were amateurs, these guys families had to pay. These guys were dropping out of high school. It's similar to what I see college athletes say about college football players. Oh, you guys have it all. You got free room and board. You guys get meals. You get uniforms. Really? I've been doing manual labor almost every day of my life since I was 10 years old and never got paid a dime for it. I didn't get to go to all the parties you guys went to. I was barely paying attention in these classes, meaning I'm already behind as far as academics are concerned. I've been doing this for this very low percentage of getting into the school, and even lower percentage, exponentially lower percentage of getting in a professional sport where I can get paid for this. The ultimate goal, come on, we're in the capitalism. Ultimate goal as an adult is to earn a decent living so you can live your American dream. It has nothing to do with being the most educated person in the room. It's nothing to do with that. People are all out here to get theirs the best way they can based off of their predisposed advantages and things they've earned. These athletes have been doing what they do all their lives to get the small percentage chance of earning a good living with that skill set. Give them a freaking break, the same break you would give yourself. What you guys are imagining or trying to put on these people is something you wouldn't put on yourself. You're suggesting that they're better human beings than you. These are people that just dedicated themselves to one thing. Just like you could have dedicated yourself to biology. I could have dedicated myself to law or medicine or some discipline to be really good at it. These are just other people that are really good at something. And most of them are average height. These things are not based on just pure athleticism. These people have just studied and worked very hard. And they're just like you and me. They need to make educated decisions. And if you watch the sport and start thinking about it as you would think about it, if you were in that position, you wouldn't be so disappointed, and you probably would pick the fighters you should be picking in the first place to ride on the bandwagon of. So with that being said about Keith Thurman, I say all that to say, he's not gone. This dude still has the same speed, still has the same power, and he skipped over Errol Spence to get the Pacquiao fight. Why did he take the Pacquiao fight? And he lost. Guess how many times he lost? One time. And you jumped off the bandwagon? Last time I checked, Danny Garcia got 2 losses. Last time I checked, when Shane Mosley fought Mayweather, he had 5 losses. And that pay-per-view was like 2 million buys. Last time I checked, Pacquiao probably got like 5 losses. Probably had 3 by the time he fought Mayweather. A recent knockout, by the way. So what are you guys afraid of? This guy, to me, has a good chance of stopping Terrence Crawford, who they say is the pound-for-pound best, one of the pound-for-pound best, the guys you want to fight Errol Spence. And I'm thinking about it. You start treating Errol Spence similar to the way you were treating Keith Thurman. Oh, he's scared of Terrence. Business, people. Recall the video. Recall the analogies, the examples. Put yourself in their shoes. Keith Thurman, to me, is probably the second best fighter in the welterweight division. Period, point blank. And basically the point of the video. This dude has already beat Danny Garcia. He's already beat Sean Porter more impressively than my boy Errol Spence, who is my favorite fighter at welterweight, by the way. Has power. Has great knowledge of the game, tactics, strategies, studies himself. Doesn't really boast much more than he can do. And can talk a good game. Doesn't sell himself short. Can talk you through round by round of a fight. Great commentator. We need these guys all to fight. But if we keep degrading them, we're going to start that chain reaction where the fans don't want to watch, the networks don't want to see it, the networks don't want to pay for it, and we don't get the great fights we deserve. So be conscious, guys. Be conscious of the things we're saying online and the messages we're putting around. Keep supporting all these fighters if we want them to fight each other. One tactic fighters use when they're going to fight another fighter that's being degraded or has lost some luster is they build them back up. The best way to get other people excited about a fight is to compliment the guy you're fighting or the guys that are involved in the fight. Let's bring it back to the table. If we want these Gervonta Davis versus Devin Haney's versus Lomachenko's versus Teofimo Lopez's, if we want Canelo Alvarez to fight the Charlos and all these things, stop nitpicking with these details about these superheroes you made up in your head. Treat them like real humans, and let's get it on. That's going to conclude my video today. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. I want you to comment. I want you to talk the craziness to me. I will reply. I take no offense to it. I don't know everything. And share. And share. Renaissance. I'm out.